Welcome to Financially Speaking, brought to you by Buska Retirement Solutions and its affiliate firms. We offer retirement, tax, and legacy planning from a dedicated family-built team. In today's episode, we'll talk about how strategic debt, when used wisely, can be a tool for building long-term wealth, how leveraging debt can offer real financial advantages if used responsibly, and the cost of being a grandparent. And now for our weekly question and answer segment.
Welcome back to Financially Speaking. Today I'm joined by Cole Bruner and Zach Kihos of Buska Retirement Solutions and Buska Wealth Management. In this segment, we're exploring a concept that surprises many people, how strategic debt, when used wisely, can be a tool for building long-term wealth. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
We always hear debt's bad, but we're going to talk about the other side of debt today, huh?
Right.
What exactly is strategic debt, and how is that used in financial planning?
Well, I think strategic debt is debt that makes sense for you to continue to carry. Think about things like a really low interest rate mortgage, as an example. We get asked all the time, should I pay off my mortgage or should I save more for retirement? And, if you've got a 2.5% 30-year mortgage that you took out a number of years ago, well, it probably makes more sense to pump money into your investments because chances are you're going to be making more than 2.5% in your investments. And so certainly you're going to get a bigger bang for your buck by dedicating that money towards investing, retirement accounts, whatever it might be, versus paying down that mortgage because, of course, the amount of debt service cost that comes with that mortgage is relatively low in comparison to things like, for example, credit card debt or something like that.
Right, that's 23%.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also too using it more for an asset, so something that's going to appreciate in value over time versus saying like having your debt for a car where it depreciates more.
Yeah.
And a guy said that once, we talked about it on another show, that your house appreciates whether you have $1 of equity or it's paid off.
Yeah.
Do you find that paying off their people's homes is more of a mental thing for them than a financial issue?
I think so.
They're just kind of taught that and that's why you do it, but you look at the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we hear that all the time. People are like, I just want to get rid of this mortgage payment. And it's like, well, if
still got your property taxes?
Yeah, exactly. It's still part of your budget, you
Right.
know. Ultimately, it's not a bad thing unless you're, paying an atrociously high interest rate on it. It's probably okay debt to hang on to, especially like Zach said, considering the property value is going up over
You
the
can
course
put the
of
money
time.
to work somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yep, and the conversation too usually is, you're always laying out what's the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can pay it off, but what are you giving up?
Right. Absolutely.
How can leveraging debt like mortgage or a business loan potentially be a smart move in growing wealth?
Obviously, if you have the ability to generate growth on an investment, let's say you have a couple $100,000 that you're investing right now, but you're thinking, okay, well, maybe if I want to buy a new building for my business or whatever it might be, well, by incorporating in that as debt, that's a deductible expense, obviously. So from a business owner's perspective, it could make a lot of sense to have that interest as a write-off and still keep your money working for you because obviously you're generating returns on those investments and all of those types of things. So it could be used to your advantage to potentially position it in a debt situation rather than spending all of that cash. And now you have the asset, but you don't have the cash earning growth for you over the course of time.
Sure. And there's two things that make money, people at work and money at work. Mm-hmm. And eventually one day you're not people at work anymore.
Right. Exactly.
What are the potential risks of you? Obviously taking debt for a business loan, taking debt to buy a building. If the building can make me more than what I'm paying in the mortgage or rental property, it's good. Mm-hmm. What are the potential risks of using debt that way? And how can that be managed?
Well, one way to mitigate it too is like if you go say you're going to do real estate, go and know what your numbers are at, like what's your payment going to be, what sort of profit margins are you looking at, and making sure with the purchase price and what your loan payment is, can you beat that?
Yeah, exactly. When you're talking about investing your money, if you can generate a better return than what you're paying on the interest loan, or the interest for the loan, I should say, then you're money positive on a month-to-month basis. Mm-hmm. And in that type of a situation too, if we're talking in terms of like real estate acquisition, like let's say you're an investor and you're looking to buy rental properties and things like that, like Zach said, you want to just balance all of the numbers and make sure that it's going to be a positive thing for you, even with that debt service cost included.
Do you find people that when they enter retirement take on in a real estate investing or something like this as kind of a hobby money making, or do you not see that too often? Are you debt averse or not debt averse?
I think I'd say, I mean, we don't see people often like taking it on per se at retirement,
Sure.
but what we more often see is people that have been doing that.
They've already took it on.
Yeah, over their lifetime, and they've accumulated real estate properties and they're generating rental income. And sometimes we're dealing with a situation where maybe they're kind of done with it and they'd rather get rid of it.
Yep, the exit
Done with
strategy.
the renters?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Which that's a negative side too of it.
Of course, there's benefits and drawbacks, and certainly dealing with, the turnover of renters and, property damage and all that
Cleaning
kind of
and
stuff.
all that.
Exactly. That can be some of the negative components of that.
Walk me through some examples. And use if I buy a rental home, I have down payment, I get my mortgage, my interest rate, all that, and if I can make more renting it, I'm cash flow positive, right?
Yeah.
What are some other examples of how debt can be used or leveraged to make money and generate wealth?
I mean, if you look from the business side, so say you own a manufacturing firm, you want to either acquire a new business that, hey, this is going to bring a new sector into our company, or you want to build up your supply inventory.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you all sorts of different possibilities. I mean, debt is just another tool in terms of financial planning, whether on the personal or professional side, that gives you options. I mean, if you're desiring to grow your business or start a new venture or create a new division or whatever it might be, sometimes that can be really difficult with just your day-to-day operating cash. So being able to acquire debt to make further advancements within your life obviously can add value in a variety of different ways. And as long as it works out with the rest of the financials of the company or your own personal situation, then obviously it could benefit you in the long run. And I think working strategically with an advisor and investigating all of these different components of this planning process is really important, because now you've got another person that can kind of look at it objectively, because sometimes we as individuals, we just want to do something, and
Right.
we don't necessarily want someone to help us to rationalize why maybe it's not a good idea. But at the same time, I mean, having that second set of eyes is really beneficial, because then they may be able to help uncover things that you haven't thought about that might change your opinion on that.
What percentage of people now, if you have your good debt, your business loans, your mortgage, things like that, what percentage of people are entering retirement with bad debt, massive credit card bills, things like that? Do you run across? Is that frequent or not too frequent?
It's pretty frequent.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously, you try to help them clean it up before they get there. So you want to create a game plan. So if you're entering it within the first couple of years, to try to get the bad debt gone.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when you're in retirement, your income is going to be more fixed, and you'd rather keep, as I always say, more money in your own pocket than the banker's pocket.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. And, I mean, with that kind of debt, like you had mentioned before, I mean, you could be looking at 20+% interest on these types of debts. And that's just, it becomes harder and harder to pay more towards that balance once you're on a fixed income.
Right.
And
that
so
grows faster than you can
Exactly.
shrink it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're making just the minimum payment on those types of things, that could take you 10, 15 years to pay off, and you're going to pay way more in interest over the life of that loan than if you had paid more regularly or paid it more aggressively to get that paid off before you get to retirement. So we do spend a bit of time helping to educate people on the importance of paying off as much of that bad debt as they possibly can before they make that transition, just because you still have the income to manage it.
Right.
And once you get to the point where that income goes away, it can become a little bit more difficult to deal with.
And the thing too is not only managing it, but also the conversation about, hey, why'd you get here?
Yeah.
How do you fix this in retirement? Because now you can't sign up for that extra overtime on Saturday to make a few extra dollars to pay it off.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure you don't fall into that same trap that maybe got you there in the first place.
Let's take a quick commercial break, come right back to this. After that short break, we'll further discuss the tools, strategies, and mindset that can change debt from a burden to a financial asset, and how the right structure can make all the difference.
Do you have a plan for how your assets will be handled after you're gone? Without one, the state could end up making life's most important decisions for your family. Through our partnership with Estate Guru, we make a estate planning process simple and affordable, offering wills, powers of attorney, and revocable trusts. On average, our service costs 70% less than the traditional estate attorney fees, and you may even qualify for free financial and healthcare power of attorneys. Call our office today to get started.
And now back to our weekly question and answer segment.
Welcome back to our chat about the power of strategic debt as part of a broader wealth building strategy. Before the break, Cole and Zach laid the foundation on how leveraging debt can offer real financial advantages if used responsibly. Now let's look at how this plays out in practice. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Yeah.
What are some key guidelines for using debt responsibly as a wealth building tool?
I would say the biggest thing is whatever you're going to be using the debt for, making sure the cash flow coming in is more than what your expense is for that debt.
Yeah, of course. And you really want to be cautious with what you're taking on debt for. If debt is adding something to your life, giving you a place to live, whatever it might be, obviously that's important debt to carry. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're already maybe struggling to maintain your day-to-day and you go out and buy that big boat that you've been dreaming of, maybe that's not the best strategy to use, because obviously that's not really doing anything but adding, benefit to your personal life, but not really helping your overall financial plan, and may even put a further strain on it, because now you've got to deal with the maintenance and the upkeep and all of that kind of stuff on that additional asset. And although it may be a dream or a desire, maybe it's more important to focus on cleaning up the rest of the financial house before we dive further into debt for making something that we really desire to happen. It's all about that need versus want type of thing, and being very, very aware of the fact that sometimes our wants may impede our needs.
And like
This is
from
true.
so that's like a
So
personal
boat is not an investment.
No.
Not necessarily.
Or like on the business side, you don't want to be taking on debt to say pay your operational expenses or to keep the doors open. You'd want to be utilizing the debt, for an acquisition or building inventory, something to grow, to produce income.
Yep.
How can someone evaluate whether taking on more debt for real estate or a business like that is a good move? Like, let's say I own a business, and I want to buy another business, but I have no idea if that works or not. Who do you talk to that's done that?
Well, I would say start with the professionals in your life, or creating relationships with professionals in your life, accountant, financial advisor. Obviously, we are going to be able to work through those types of questions with a client to determine, what value is this additional acquisition or purchase going to bring? Is it additional revenue? Is it a new revenue source? What type of benefit is it going to really provide? And then working through, is it going to provide enough benefit to justify the expense?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there specific types of debt that tend to offer better long-term financial gains or outcomes?
I think real estate is probably the most long-term
widely,
beneficial one. Obviously you're buying or investing in a property that will over time increase in value. And of course the debt will be paid down over the course of time. So you are creating another asset that you could potentially sell for additional cash flow in the future. So I would say real estate is probably the most common.
And there's a lot of different avenues you can go down with real estate too. Like you can own a commercial building, rent it to a business. You could get into renters more on the residential level, or around here, farmland.
Yeah, of course. There's lots of options.
How can a financial services professional help structure and monitor strategic debt, and I guess good debt and bad debt, to help you better understand and create your own financial picture and roadmap?
Well, I think just working with someone that has experience in that area. For a lot of people that are investigating this, maybe they're investigating it for the first time, or they're just not an expert in that particular area. And certainly, we have had lots of experiences with clients. And so drawing from our experience and the things that we've witnessed directly other clients deal with or other clients go through can provide and add value to the client over time.
Appreciate that. And sometimes I think people just don't understand the interest rates on credit cards, or the world tends to make debt an easy thing to acquire.
Yeah.
And it's not even so
it.
much, like in real estate too, it's not just so much the interest rate, it's also what are your purchase price at.
Yeah,
Sure.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, thank you guys. I know obviously income planning and those types of things are super important, but also spending has a little bit to do with the equation as well.
Of course.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be right back with more Financially Speaking.
At Buska, our goal is to streamline the retirement planning process to help you move towards a successful retirement with confidence and ease. Through our 3 companies, we provide a comprehensive approach to planning your future. We work closely with you to create a personalized, comprehensive retirement plan that reflects your unique goals and financial situation. Our team integrates investment management, income planning, tax strategies, estate planning, health insurance, and Medicare planning all under one roof. That means fewer appointments, less stress, and more clarity as you prepare for life's next chapter. Whether you're just starting to think about retirement or looking for a second opinion on your current plan, we're here to help you feel more confident about your financial future. Call us today at 715-355-4445 or visit retirewithbuska.com to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation consultation. Let's make retirement planning easier together.
And now, our Financially Speaking weekly desk segment.
Welcome back to Financially Speaking. I'm Kaylee Berenson from Buska Retirement Solutions and Buska Wealth Management. And joining me today is my mom, Sue Buska. Today, we're going to talk about the cost of being a grandparent.
That's right. And it's natural to want to spend money on things that make your grandkids happy or to help them get started in life, but it's important to balance that with your own financial interests.
Absolutely. Before we get started today, a quick note for our viewers. Both my mom and I are seasoned financial services professionals, but for the purposes of today's conversation, I'll be taking the role of the curious listener, and my mom will offer her expert insights.
Great summation, Kaylee. And let's get started by discussing Kiplinger's article, which is entitled, How Much Does It Cost to Be a Grandparent? Now, right up front, it says that on the average, that grandparents spend about $4,000 per year on their grandkids. And that includes everything from helping with major purchases, like cars or home down payments, to covering everyday expenses like clothing, meals, and entertainment.
Well, that's a lot of love and a lot of money. What are some specific categories where grandparents are spending?
Well, here's a quick breakdown. Around $1,000 per year goes towards large purchases, and then another $1,000 towards school tuition or college, and yet another $1,000 for housing support. And to that, $1,000 for travel and vacations. Contributions to savings or college funds average about $600, while day-to-day expenses and allowances each average about $500 a year. Now, gifts, dining out, healthcare, and entertainment round out the rest.
Well, it sounds like it adds up fast. And I imagine those numbers could be even higher for grandparents who are primary caregivers.
That's exactly right. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau, around 6.7 million grandparents live with their grandchildren, and nearly a third of those are responsible for their care. Now, that level of commitment can greatly raise the financial stakes.
Well, that's really significant. Now, I know a lot of grandparents don't mind the expense, but at what cost to their own retirement security?
Well, that's really a great question, and that's where the concern lies. The same study found that many grandparents have considered making real financial sacrifices to support their grandkids, such as delaying retirement, withdrawing from savings, or even taking on debt. About 14% have already pulled money from retirement accounts, and 10% have taken on debt. And 42% say they've at least considered retiring later to keep helping their families.
Well, that's a lot of pressure. Grandparents are trying to do the right thing for their grandkids, but potentially undermining their own financial future in the process.
And that's right again, Kaylee, because it's all about balance. Because while giving can be incredibly rewarding, overspending can lead to financial instability in retirement. And retirees already face challenges like rising healthcare costs and the risk of outliving their savings.
So let's talk about the pros and cons of spending money on grandkids. The Kiplinger article gives us a thoughtful look at both sides.
That's right. And on the pro side, financial gifts can strengthen family bonds, leave a lasting legacy, and even offer tax benefits. So, for example, grandparents can contribute to a 529 college savings plan or give up to $18,000 per year per recipient without triggering gift taxes. Now, thanks to the new tax law, they can also contribute to a child's savings account, which can fund things beyond college tuition. And the joy that comes from helping a grandchild succeed is priceless.
I love that. But there is a flip side to it, right?
Yes, the downsides include reduced retirement flexibility, the risk of creating dependency, emotional stress, and even tax complications for gifts over that $18,000 limit. Plus, if spending is high, it might reduce the ability to deal with surprise expenses like long-term care, which, by the way, can cost upwards of $8,000 to $12,000 a month.
So in other words, helping is great, but overextending yourself could leave you in a tough spot later.
That's exactly right. And that's why Kiplinger also recommends finding the ways to support your grandchildren that don't necessarily involve writing a check. So for example, consider contributing to a 529 plan. Thanks to recent changes, grandparents can now fund a 529 without affecting a grandchild's financial aid eligibility.
Well, that's a smart strategy, and it keeps the focus on long-term educational success without shortchanging your retirement.
That's right. And if the grandchild doesn't want to go to college, unused funds in a 529 can now be rolled into a Roth IRA under certain conditions, so the money still benefits them in the future.
Can we talk a little bit more about the child savings account?
We sure can. The tax law passed on July 4th, 2025, known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and it contained a provision that created child savings accounts. A CNBC article covered this and says that the new accounts allow parents, grandparents, and other taxable entities to contribute up to $5,000 per year to a child's savings account, and the money stays in the account until the child turns 18, at which point it becomes an IRA. The money is invested in a low-cost fund, and it does grow tax-free.
And when might a grandparent want to contribute to something like this?
Well, I'd say think about what your priorities are. Now, if it's helping with college, then contribute to a 529 plan, not a child savings account. Now, if you think the child might need money for something other than college, a child savings account may be the way to go.
Well, what about contributing to both?
Well, only if you can afford it. And even then, you may want to think twice, because remember the surprise expenses that you could face, like we talked about earlier.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about another Kiplinger article titled 4 Money Mistakes Even Good Grandparents Make with Grandkids. There are some excellent lessons in this piece.
Definitely. Mistake number 1, not encouraging grandkids to earn and save money themselves. Now, when you buy everything for them, you take away the opportunity for them to learn the value of hard work and savings.
That's exactly right. And I still remember saving up for my first bike. I was so proud when I finally bought it. I probably took better care of it too.
Exactly, and when kids earn and save for something, they value it more. Now, grandparents can support that by encouraging odd jobs or helping them set a savings goal, not by buying them everything that they want.
And mistake number 2 in the article is one that is all too easy to make: spoiling the grandkids.
Well, grandparents love seeing their kids light up when they get something new. But if every visit includes a gift, kids start to expect it, and that can lead to a sense of entitlement rather than genuine gratitude. So instead, focus on spending quality time. These are the moments that make memories, not just stuff.
Well, that's such a good point, Mom. What about mistake number 3?
It's a big one. Not preparing grandkids for their inheritance. The so-called great wealth transfer means baby boomers are expected to pass down over $70 trillion. But inheritance should come with conversation, not just cash. Explain your values and goals and tell them what you hope the money helps them achieve, whether it's education, homeownership, or even charitable giving.
Well, that's great advice. Don't just leave money behind, leave a purpose.
That's right, and that ties in nicely to mistake number 4, competing with the other grandparents.
Well, I could see how that could happen. One set of grandparents gives an iPad, and suddenly the other set feels like they need to up the ante with something bigger.
That's right, but it's not a competition. Let the grandkids enjoy the generosity of others without feeling like you need to match or outdo them. Focus on building your own special connection with them based on time and values, not dollar signs.
So true, Mom. What are some of the practical tips grandparents can follow to help maintain financial balance?
Well, first, budget for grandkid-related spending. Just like you would any other category, decide what you can afford annually and stick to it. Second, consider setting up separate savings buckets for education, gifts, or travel experiences. And third, remember, support doesn't mean having to spend. Share your wisdom and be a financial role model.
Well, that's so important. Grandparents have the power to shape how future generations think about money.
Exactly. So be the kind of financial role model who inspires smart habits, gratitude, and responsibility.
All right, Mom, any final thoughts?
Just this, if you're a grandparent, you already know how deep the love goes. Supporting your grandkids is a beautiful thing, but make sure that you're not sacrificing your own peace of mind to do it. Plan thoughtfully, spend wisely, and enjoy the journey.
Well said. If you have any questions about balancing generosity with financial security, contact us at retirewithbuska.com or call 715-355-4445. We'll be right back with more Financially Speaking after this.
You've likely heard about the new tax bill, but do you really know what it means for you? It changes how overtime and tips are taxed, makes several tax cuts permanent, and introduces a new deduction for those 65 and older. With updates like these, now is a great time to revisit your financial strategy. I'm Cole Bruner from Buska Retirement Solutions. Let's talk about how these changes could affect you and what steps you can take. Call us at 715-355-4445 to schedule your complimentary consultation. With recent market changes, it's understandable that some people are feeling a little anxious about their financial future. That's why now might be a perfect time to review your financial plan. A financial services professional is trained to help you stay focused on the facts, not emotions, when it comes to your strategy. Getting a second opinion today works to ensure your investments are properly positioned to weather market volatility and that you're not taking on more risk than you realize. Let's work to make sure your plan is ready for whatever comes next. Call us today to schedule a complimentary review with one of our financial professionals.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Financially Speaking. We're glad you were able to join us today, and we hope you learned some useful retirement tips along the way.
On today's show, we covered a number of important topics, and hopefully we did so in a manner that was easy for you to understand. This is the same way we communicate to our clients when we meet with them in person. Remember, with the help of a financial services professional, you can create a quality retirement plan, and our team is here to help. Right now may be a great time to get a second opinion on your retirement plan. Call us at 715-355-4445 or go to retirewithbuska.com to continue your retirement education, catch up on previous episodes of our TV and radio show, or schedule your complimentary, no-obligation consultation.
If you have any questions or comments about today's show, call us at 715-355-4445, or feel free to send us an email at info@retirewithbuska.com. Join us next week at the same time and same place for another episode of Financially Speaking.